presence. You do have another ball delivery system coming in now for that Orianna. And Xiaohu, it seems like he's still going to be a man about a lot of like mid-game oriented skirmishing power with that Nico.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Nico itself is just something. It's always funny because I remember at the start when Nico kind of firstly got the rework or the, you know, kind of the change up of her abilities, everyone and everything was just changing at all times. Now that people are kind of used to it, you don't see as much craziness in the early game per se, but it is one of those picks that I find that is, the longer the game goes, the more you find that those little mistakes creep in. You're not checking every minion. You're not looking at where these, you know, wards are. For some reason, I remember early on in the rework, there was a blue buff in bot lane, and then all the people just didn't care or notice. They just didn't look at it. So you do kind of find that with Nico, it does add that layer of, you know, attention that you have to give it. And if you don't see it, then you need to make sure you're very certain where, you know, everyone else is on the map.
Exactly. You got to be very diligent. Even just looking at the composition that TT have, like very short range, it's going to be very easy for Xiaohu to get in range to find those full value ultimates, especially when TT have a composition that need to run in, that need to get in range of Xiaohu to be able to find anything. Both the Nico and the Aphelios are going to absolutely love that.
Well, the teams are locked and loaded, and for TT, this is a real test for them right now. They are 1-0, but let's see if they can kind of keep that momentum going for Weibo. They're looking to get back where they just left off in 2023, looking to continue themselves up the rankings and look towards another potential international appearance. They have some unfinished business. They want to try and make this new roster work, and honestly, I feel like they have got the pieces. They just need to put them together.
Yeah, Weibo definitely, I mean, it feels like their roster was built with kind of their system in mind, with those core three in mind. But TT already were able to find a bit of an upset victory in game one. Now we see if they can do it here again up against Weibo.
We are jumping onto the rifts. We have to see all the new angles, all the new thing. How is your opinion or your perception of everything been so far on the new rifts and the new walls?
It's like weird because I feel like when I watch the games, I'm like I kind of wish mid lane was a bit smaller again. I loved seeing a lot of action around the mid lane, but at the same time, it's like I also just like that change has happened. I feel like that's one of the things, you know, a lot of people just love about League of Legends, right? These big reinventions of the game that make it a bit more exciting to follow.
It's definitely a bit of fun, as we always have to come into the start of the year and just scramble to get all the information.
I've actually thought about what I want to Sheen.
Yeah, what do you want?
Let's just turn the mid lane into like a mini UFC octagon, so the mid laners just have to fight, and there's no recalling. You only go back to base when you're dead.
And you know what? I'm gonna augment on that. What if we did that top lanes? No one can join in. It's just those two, and it maintains the island aesthetic that we have built for top lane. And then mid lane becomes more like WWE, where it's more like a wrestling ring, and everyone can join in. And it's just like, oh, here comes the jungler with the steel chair, and you can kind of just have all this madness happen within it, and everyone has to come in. I feel like we could build a much more entertaining kind of setup if we went with that side.
Looks like we might get the entertainment now.
Yeah, we might. You can see Beichuan not enjoying the current setup of things. They are going to have a little bit of a fear, and about 2/3 of his health bar taken. There's a smite coming down. Wasn't exactly sure of who took that. I believe it was XiaoHao who got it. Ucal has roamed over. They will try and just burn him down. And yeah, XiaoHao had no support, no real way of going for this. The early flash from Beichuan to try and cover it means they're going to see XiaoHao just try to run away from this one here. He's still going on top of this, not quite able to take the trade, and first blood over to Ucal.
If he would have gotten away from that, that would have been insane. Really just playing with them for a bit there. Good first kill going over the TT. Still 2 flashes burned for 1. So maybe some potential to find ganks around mid. But looks like Xiaohu, with how far pushed up TT spot lane are, might have an angle.
I mean, they know that ward's gone down as well. So Xiaohu knows he doesn't have to go through the river. Is he going to try the recall instead? I think he might just go for a full reset. I don't really see a great angle to be able to go for this. And with Emilio, it's very hard to really get a setup.
Yeah, doesn't end up trying to find the play. I don't know if he would have assumed that Beichuan there would have gone for a reset. His health was low, so I think he probably could. And it would just make sense for Beichuan even to naturally path towards that bot lane. So it could even be a potential good read from Xiaohu on where the enemy jungle was at the time. And so far, things going pretty smooth for TT. But when we talked about it, feels like the recipe for success now being bot lane pressure. They really have been finding it with these trades.
Yeah, the barrier comes out though, and that's a fair bit of reduction in the damage there. And you can see when you go with this Aphelios Milio bot lane, it's heal, it's barrier, it's just so much sustain against the Lucian Nami that it becomes difficult to really burst somebody out like that. But for now, everyone's happy to just take that trade, get the summoner out, and they're not too upset about it. XiaoHao finally back on the Rift, looking for his own side of the jungle here on the bot side. And again, it's just going to be kind of about where this first paranoia goes for him. I like the idea of what he tried to do there, but in the top side invade, but you need support. So hopefully next time he does it, he'll have the support of his mid and his top to be able to make that work.
We didn't even see the worst of it because even Hoya had already started roaming over just in case anything had gone wrong. So yeah, gonna need to see a bit more temperament coming from the side of Weibo. I mean, even just looking at their mid jungle, right? It's gonna be a lot about that level 6 mark, not even just for XiaoHao, but for Xiaohu as well. So I don't know if they'll be able to find a window. I don't know why I'm anticipating anything happening here when we see this literally every Udyr Cassante matchup.
Yeah, it's a bit of a, I mean, Hoya, excuse me, taking a fair bit of, he actually got hit by any of the CC there from ZDZ. He probably was in a fair bit of trouble because he does not have flash. Of course, you do run the ghost teleport when you go with the Udyr, and of course the Cassante now kind of following in kind just to get that extra movement speed. But yeah, definitely feel like it's always just going to be a wet noodle fight on the top side, and immediately Beichuan off a spawn, just looking for those grubs, getting a little bit of in. If this recall comes in for XiaoHao, he's going to get all three.
Yeah, it seems like that's probably the play. We'll see how much time Beichuan's willing to commit here, because obviously now with taking the first one, Weibo's going to know what's going on. Looks like, yeah, he's willing to commit over. We can see on the minimap, though, XiaoHao is pathing over. We have some pings coming towards the mid lane.
We have a couple. Looks like XiaoHao maybe moving on to his level 6 hit by both mid laners, but yeah, not in time. XiaoHao had an unfortunate backing, which meant that he, or back timer, which meant he wasn't really in position to even trade on the bot side of the map. They don't know exactly where he is right now, but he is only level 4, so he's not the biggest threat in the world. And yeah, I mean, honestly, right now, this is a really good early game coming out from TT. Very composed, not panicking, despite the curveballs that have been thrown at them in this early stage, the invade and such. And if they can keep this kind of setup and keep eyes on Xiaohu, it's going to be very difficult for Weibo to really catch out this team. There's a lot of very good defenses for TT.
Yeah, especially if they can keep up being the team on the front foot, right? Because then it's going to be Weibo having this awkward time trying to find access into the back line up until you get things like the Rocket Belt onto Xiaohu. Now, with having those scrubs, we've already seen 1xN in Chocho being able to push into that turret, so it's going to be more damage down there. It might even be able to set up for a potential early Drake coming out for TT. We know Beichuan should also hit level 6 first, since he does have that experience advantage.
He should be able to get in, and the Cyclone being available alongside that Shockwave could be huge. We do know that XiaoHao has been spotted on this Dragon. They know it's being taken, but with a reset in the mid lane and Xiaohu still sticking around, that's going to be a pretty easy take for the side of Weibo to get the early kind of trade on that. And it's been funny, actually, to kind of notice the initial excitement from a lot of teams to be able to kind of take those Void Grubs very, very quickly at the start of the game, but slowly but surely recognizing, oh yeah, Dragon Soul early is still kind of monstrous and still not something you can just ignore, that you have to take, and you need to make sure you're still prioritizing that.
I feel like it's like back in the day when McDonald's started selling pizza like 20 years ago, and a lot of people were like, yeah, pizza at McDonald's, let's go. And then quickly, no, McDonald's doesn't really sell pizza anymore.
Yeah.
For a reason.
And you know what? Sometimes that local pizza place, it's just better. That's just how it is.
Exactly.
Yeah,
getting pizza from McDonald's does not sound right.
No, it really doesn't. It's like one of those things where it's like, you can always tell how good / bad a restaurant is based on how many cuisines they offer on their menu. It's like in Ireland, we have a lot of Indian takeaways that do pizzas, and it just feels very strange that you have those two combined together.
Wait. I gotta say, every Irish pub serves burritos for some reason when I was in Ireland. I will always remember that. It made no sense, but they were pretty good burritos.
I mean, they weren't bad. I wouldn't recommend getting a burrito from an Irish pub, but I would recommend maybe like a carvery or something. But to each their own. I'm not going to judge you on that.
I don't even think I was the one who ordered it. I think it was someone else on the casting team.
It was probably Hysterics. I'm almost certain.
Hysterics.
I'm almost certain it was probably hysterics. As he's having a grand old time. In fact, he liked it so much he's now on the LEC, moved on to the European broadcast. That's just how much he enjoyed it. But
he liked Irish burritos.
He liked Irish burritos so much he went to Europe. He went to the LEC studio, but hopefully won't be too further in the future that we might see him again. Of course, we'll see how that goes with different setup. And of course, we are naturally having a little bit of a lull time right now with no real objective to kind of take. 30 seconds to the second half of the Grubs respawn makes it a tantalizing opportunity. And with level 6 is hitting across the board and the Paranoia specifically available for XiaoHao, I want to see something happen here, but I'm curious and to pick your brain, where do you really anticipate the first real bit of action coming from these teams?
I think for XiaoHao, you have the opportunity to look mid. I mean, Paranoia is one of the nice things that it doesn't really matter that it feels like the mid lane has gotten a bit harder to gank, and it looks like XiaoHao even having the same read, right? You have great setup. Maybe about if Xiaohu can find it.
It's hard. You do need to land that Tangle Barb, and if you don't, you're just not in a position to work for that. You see Hoya immediately dropping a ward down on the Void Grubs, recognizing that his jungler is on the bot side, so they will have information that this is going down, and they will know, Weibo will know that they are known, but now Ucal doesn't recognize that he's being caught up in a little bit of a 3v1, and they will throw everything at him. Chris picks up the final kill, or the final hit on that kill, and Weibo are on the board.
Nice job, just able to walk straight through River to be able to find that one. This means you aren't going to be able to get all those grubs for TT. But TT going to try and zone out Light and Chris from turret. Means 1xn's lead is going to grow, sitting about 10 CS up right now. Ooh, we do have Cyclone, so Chris is going to have to be careful.
They do have it. They still have the Milio ultimate, and with the tidal wave going between the sticks, does land on the Aphelios. Flash by Crisp as the Cyclone does hit. Culling to try and do a little bit more damage, but Crisp was the target, and you cannot go back into that, but maybe Light just baiting it for us. You can see XiaoHao comes in with the Paranoia. They get the kill on the 1xn. Now Beichuan has to back away, but he's already taking so many tower hits, and it will be another kill for Crisp. A bloodthirsty support here on Weibo, but Weibo perfectly turning that around and get themselves a 2-for-1.
Yeah, like you're saying, I wonder if that was a call from Light or Weibo as in general, being like, hey, keep going, let's keep them here so we can find more kills. But this is just going to change like where the gold's going, right? Because still going to have that CS lead kept there for that Lucian, since Light did end up going down. He ends up finishing his first item. We're going to see here in the replay, really nice knockback coming from Chris. The sidestep is there as well, the flash, like, my God. Chris was on point in those opening moments of the exchange. Look at the minimap. It's like you hit on. The Nocturne is close by. It's buying time for XiaoHao to get involved. And all the healing and sustain coming out for Chris, doing a great job at buying time, which allows for them to find the 2 kills. Sadly, not able to pick up the 3rd before Ucal was able to come in and assist.
And look, Crisp is a happy boy right now. Got his Moonstone, he's feeling good, he's not worried about anything. He's a rich man in that bot lane, but we'll see if they can convert it into anything else, because despite the 3-2 kills, it is still TT with about a 500 gold lead. We still have one of the Eddies, the Kevins, the Powerpuff Girls, the many different names for the 3 Grubs just being left there in the pit, as Weibo have yet to pick that one up, and it's not being picked up by TT either. But with the Dragon up now and available, we could be looking at another potential move. Not a lot of flashes available for either side, and Ultimate's still on a little bit of a cooldown.
Yeah, gonna just be some posturing for now. Again, I want to highlight kind of the results of that play bot being 1xn was able to maintain his CS lead, has his first item in that Storm Razor Door. You pointed out, Chris, really being the big benefactor for Weibo. So it definitely feels like TT gaining more immediate power from all the shenanigans that we've seen so far, but Weibo potentially don't want to give this one up. Without the vision, though, it's going to be so hard to force your way through this.
Yeah, there's so much well set up vision, but the double TP is coming in for both top laners. We might see them after the fact. They're going to go for the pop loss, and they landed on the 2. There's going to be the Moonlight Vigil, but at this stage of the game, it just doesn't do a lot of damage. The Nico trade for the Nami as they look to try and make this fight work. The Paranoia come in, try and dissuade any kind of a re-engage. They don't have any more, but the Shockwave is fantastic coming out here from Ucal, and they take down the fed Chris, but they need to be able to get onto this Aphelios. Their health bars are so low. The Aphelios is looking for a little bit. They're all so low with the barrier, but there's just too many here. And there's a quadra kill for Ucal. We wanted him to step up, and boy, has he.
Huge plays coming out. It looked like it was just going to end in the 1-for-1 trade, but Ucal making magic happen. Now, even potentially getting the first move on Herald, but I love it. Quickly getting into the replay. Here, look, Xiaohu only able to really find qiuqiu, and Beichuan doesn't really get on top of the Lucian, so it means they're able to come out ahead. The rest of Weibo get zoned off, but keep your eyes on the Orianna ball, because it's going to be Ucal with the members of Weibo walking up, who's going to turn this play. I do gotta say, Sheen, I feel like Weibo, a bit of psychopaths here, even trying to re-enter into this play. I get it, Light's still full HP, you have some damage there, but it feels like once that CC was confirmed, and with Hoya coming with all this AoE from that R, yeah, it just felt like it was TT's fight to win, and now 5-1-1 on the Orianna, my god.
I mean, absolutely massive here for Ucal. And I mean, we saw it there. Like, Light was basically untouched right up until the end. And normally, you leave an Ophelli out for that long, you're just going to get melted. But he had a Noom Quiver, and that was it. He didn't have his finished up Kraken Slayer. He didn't have the damage to be able to burn this down. And actually, Beichuan almost died and then got a Triumph proc from killing off a member of Weibo and was able to kind of survive from it. So these are the small little differences that if you don't take that fight, you back away, you get yourself the item, you're just not giving over that much gold. And now it's about a 3,000 gold lead here in favor of TT.
Is this really going to be the season of TT? I mean, hell, I saw Dom did claim TT the other day as his team. This might be the power they needed. They were already coming in strong. They kept their core. They're building around strong players. They have Western support. What can't Thunder talk to?
Have we dubbed them with the mojo yet? Because I feel like that's a little bit of a cursed kind of a poison chalice, if you will.
Don't even say it. We can't curse them with the mojo. We can't let Joe know about this game. Hopefully he's not watching right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty early here on the Ireland and England side of things. It's about 7:30 in the morning, so it's a bit of an early start to try and get into this one. So maybe Munchables won't be cursing them with the mojo just yet. But coming into this one now, Weibo, they have to try and find themselves back into this, because again, the kill score looks close, but that gold lead is very, very powerful, especially when you think about who it's on. If you get that Orianna into 2 items before the next big fight, another shockwave like that could quite literally one-shot people.
Yeah, and you can see he's already making his way up to the Banshees, which is, you know, going to do a nice job of trying to keep him safe from those engages from Xiaohu. But speaking of the Xiaos, XiaoHao and Chris, not going to be able to really do anything here. But I do want to highlight for Weibo's composition, right? Since there's always pick potential, there really is always a way of coming back into the game or even just closing that gold lead. A lot of squishy members on the side of TT.
We'll see if they can burn through them. TT do have to play these fights pretty well. Yes, they are ahead, but they're not so far ahead that it changes how the game has to be played. You can see the verdant barrier being hit by the rocket belt there, just to be annoying. Xiaohu not having the best. And again, we talked about that last fight where there's a couple of flashes not available, waiting on a paranoia and a load of ultimates. It was kind of very staggered. I imagine the next time we have this, we should have summoners pretty much fully up for absolutely everybody, and there will be a bit more of a favorite fight. Because again, Xiaohu, I thought he got 2. He actually only got 1 because it was the clone of Beichuan in the last Pop Blossom that he got. So really do need to be getting onto more priority targets, aka 1XN and Ucal.
Yeah, 100% 1XN was just safe that whole time. At least for Weibo, they do have this Herald to play with, and it looks like just going to hover around mid for now. With Dragon coming up, we kind of expect the drop to be towards mid and open up that pressure. They already have a pretty deep vision line in the enemy jungle. So first, TT trying to generate some pressure to try and contest. We can see Hoya should have pushed in bot and can potentially start moving over now. But it's going to be hard for qiuqiu and 1XN to find any way in, and hell, maybe they just end up giving it up.
Maybe. Light has been able to kind of drag himself despite the deficit with a couple of kills, and also the fact that he had a cull just finished up there, so a nice little extra bit of gold kind of coming back into him. So right now TT looking to try and maybe get this one. And I will say, as much as the LCK have Cloud Souls, we seem to be having a lot of Chem Souls in our rifts as yeah, a lot of wards need to be pulled out here, but TT, they haven't found all of them, and there could be a TP flank available here for Xiaohu if he wants it, but no, he's going to go towards that mid lane instead as they look to drop the Herald and maybe get a bit more pressure before this Dragon fight.
Multiple members of TT, though, have... yeah, I was going to say 2 items now. 2 items now done on 1XN, 2 items on Ucal, 2 items on Hoya. These guys, bigger than their counterparts on Weibo. It's gonna be really hard for Weibo to even do anything here. But it seems like they feel really pressured to make a play, considering that they have Nico, they have Nocturne.
They've got a
Machine
lot.
damage might just be too much.
I was gonna say they have a lot to try and burn through before they could even get to kind of, you know, have a fight there. Xiaohu desperately looking for something, but he is fully caught out on vision, so they know exactly where he is. Cullen comes out and pepper down a little bit of ZDZ, who's got a fair bit of armor magic resistance to himself, but he can only do so much. ZDZ, he'll have to find a perfect target as we look for the Chem Dragon now. 19 minutes on the clock. This could be a pivotal fight here for Weibo. They really want to try and fight this, and this is the LPL way. You know, if you're going to go longer into this game, you're probably just going to die a death of 1,000 cuts, so why the hell not just try and fight it now? But already they're backing up, trying to make sure they don't get caught out by anything. But TT aware of this, they don't want to give up mid lane pressure either.
And look at what TT have already done. Top wave pushing. Ucal just finished pushing up bot wave. They have the map set up to do this. It's going to be lost gold for Weibo. The one silver lining is Light with the Gravitum was able to get 1xn's cleanse.
He was able to, yeah, but that cleanse is coming back fairly shortly. qiuqiu just kind of sticking right beside 1xn. The Baron slithers their way over under the river to say, hey, new objective on the map in the next 30 or 5 seconds, to be honest. Wait, again, these teams just both posturing so aggressively to try and make this work, but the vision is solid, I gotta say, from TT. That they're covering as many angles as they need, and now they finally start up the Drake.
Yeah, gonna see what they can do. Again, we gotta keep our eyes, especially on XiaoHao, being able to find 1xn.
Yeah, XiaoHao has been discovered. They know exactly where it is. Half-baked piece of flash in, Cyclone, and the shockwave as well. Tidal wave to try and complement it again. The pot blossom from Xiaohu is just to defend himself. He needed the shield to survive, and now the rest of Weibo have realized they're not in a great position. That's a big Moonlight Vigil, but it's just not big enough. The damage isn't there, like you called, Lyric. And TT, they waited, they bided their time. They only get 1 kill, but they get the prize of the dragon.
Yeah, still though, it's gonna be difficult for them to walk back into this mid lane with how big
Xiaohu
is, but
Xiaohu
doesn't care.
Oh, he doesn't quite get the damage down. One more of the double tap, and that's going to be a kill confirmed. Crisp in a lot of trouble. Flashes over to the Brambleback. And TT, they're brimming with confidence right now, Lyric. They're looking to push Weibo back.
TT are the future. It might only be their second series of the LPL, but I'm ready to say it. Here, we had so much posturing over this dragon. I don't know how Weibo thought they could fight, but great engage coming out from Beichuan, finding the knockup. And like you said, Xiaohu forced to ult defensively, so that's not really being used for damage. Great tidal wave coming out from the Nami to force them back. Sure, we see a good job coming out from Light with some decent damage there, but with them all being funneled back already, fighting on that back foot, nothing they could do. And it's here where it looked like Xiaohu potentially was going to get away with that campfire and the healing coming through from Chris, but Flash to follow through from 1xn with the double tap, and he completes it. My God.
Oh, Xiaohu. He's just dead. No flash, no way out. He just burned it in the last replay we saw, and he's been caught out again. A near 5,000 gold lead, 2 dragons to 1. 22 minutes in. I mean, this is starting to look difficult for Weibo. The game, the whole map state right now is just completely run away from them.
No, I think it'd be too hard, as we're going to see here. Xiaohu just was going to go face check a brush. Right before he did that, the Orianna reveals itself anyway. Didn't matter. He was already in
TP.
TPs.
They're looking for TT. As we're going to see now 3v4 as they look for a little bit more. There's going to be a flash away. No shockwave available. The Cyclone doing decent damage. I don't know why we're looking at the Nami, but we're going to try and get everybody back into this fight. There's Ucal finally going down. A big shutdown over to the side of Light, but Crisp is in no man's land. They will get hit by the tidal wave, and it's a 2 for 2. At the end of it all, TT, despite being caught out, they still trade off equally.
Yeah, still just being really too strong for Weibo to contend with. 1xn and qiuqiu not being there, and especially with 1xn being the consistent source of DPS, is why Weibo were actually able to find something in their favor. Let's see exactly what goes down here. We can see TT just pushing up. Minimap, sadly, like we said, AD and support not here. Just the Cyclone able to buy so much time for Ucal to get away. And, like, they're just so far ahead. I can't believe Beichuan was the one to take out the Nocturne by himself, right? Not even needing things like the Shockwave in that exchange to do it. I mean, hell, does have Black Cleaver and Sundered Sky finished up. This Wukong as well is a damage threat that pretty much all of Weibo need to respect.
And that's the thing as well, like, Weibo, they had to commit so much to get those kills as well. Flash from XiaoHao, flash from Light, you know, like, it was a lot there, and all of a sudden you're looking on the inverse of that. Yes, you got the Ucal flash, but there wasn't really a lot to lose on the side of TT. They just lost the Orianna flash, and that was about it. Now mid lane under threat, and almost certainly to be taken. Dragon spawning in 2 minutes, so that's not going to be a big deal for either side, but this game, it feels like the pace of it has just gotten so quick here for TT, and they're enjoying the fact that it is so fast.
Yeah, TT. I mean, it's funny too, right? Because you pointed out earlier, we had a relatively tame early game. Like, there was some looks for action, but no middle coming through. qiuqiu ends up surviving. Oh, 80 HP, my God.
I mean, Nico still has damage. You gotta still respect that, especially when you're the one when you're building up a, you know, a kind of the grievous wounds for your team here from qiuqiu. Hasn't been seen too much on the supports. Don't really have a support item for it. Now Weibo, recognizing that the Nami had to go back, they go straight for the Baron. There is a couple of avenues though for TT to kind of walk into this, and they don't take it exceptionally quickly. They haven't got vision though of where everyone is. You can imagine that Xiaohu is looking for a little bit of a flank.
Trying to find one, but they got to worry about a flank from.
They know where he is.
Beichuan of their own.
Here we go. They're going to look for it now. They're going to try and burn down. XiaoHao pops down the paranoia. Here we go into the pit. Can they get anything off this? The tidal wave is good. The Baron down at 1800 HP. Finally gets taken. The Moonlight Vigil is massive. Can they get the Pop Blossom onto anybody? It's a weird trade of 2 for 1. Xiaohu looking for the angle, just could not find it. It will be the Baron over to Weibo, but it's not for free. They still get 3 people out with it.
Yeah, I feel like for Weibo, you're so happy about that result. It feels like Beichuan going in a little bit before anyone on his team can realistically follow up, which makes sense, right? Especially with the all-seeing Baron, that choke point is just so disgusting to have to even try to run through. And now, honestly, with this Baron, Weibo might be able to equalize the gold lead. There's still a ton of standing gold on the map for them, right? They've taken no turrets yet, so this will be the first one of the game. Mid's almost broken down. They should be able to use Baron to get that bot lane turret. But it's just here, right? Beichuan able to go in, Ucal not in a position to follow up, so Wukong's already forced so incredibly low, which is how XiaoHao is just going to be able to get this smite very easily for the side of Weibo. Sure, we have members like the Cassante and the Nocturne going in XiaoHao and ZDZ to buy time, so they go down, but you got a Baron!
Yeah, you take that trade every day of the week. This will be soul point over to TT, but again, Chemsoul not exactly the most highly prized. And I mean, this Aphelios is on 3 items. This Nico not far off it either. The relevant gold lead, like you mentioned, is becoming less and less poignant and less prominent for the side of TT. We were shouting their praises so much that it felt like they were going to be able to kind of keep the pace going, but fair dues to Weibo, they'd be able to turn around and say, no, we're fine, we can force this. The fact that they just got the Nami, that's all they did. They just got the Nami away from the pit, and they immediately recognized, hey, they're not going to have any vision around this Baron pit, and we can go for this.
Yeah. Just good heads-up calling. And hell, that's one thing we saw from Weibo, even their game 1 against RA, where they were struggling. Just very clever, very decisive, and making quick calls to find ways back into the game. Still at a gold deficit, but at least going 1 by 1, again, breaking down some of these outer turrets to try and get back into a place of prominence. Light is at a 3-item mark, so we know the Aphelios is going to be huge. We've seen the damage his Moonlight Vigils have done. It's really just about if you can keep formation and find a way on top of Ucal and 1xN.
Yeah, this is where they can make the moves. Now TT have to play this more, just can't just walk into this now. You have to find precise targets. The shockwave needs to land onto Light. I feel like with the amount of healing and shielding and just general sustain he's going to have, it's going to be so difficult to try and burst him in a, you know, if it goes to a longer extended fight. Go for that full crit. Nothing changing in terms of the Aphelios build, really, despite the changes in preseason. He is just straight up a late game monster of 200 years, and this is going to be difficult, because again, you look at the way these kind of kills have gone, you look at the early game, TT should have been in control. Weibo wrestling it back now, and we'll wait to see. It is you know, kind of anyone's game at this point. I feel like it's going to come down to a crucial fight, either around this Chemsoul or potentially Baron again, both in 3 minutes.
Yeah, I do gotta say, we at least do have the crit bloom on Ucal now, and with how close a lot of these fights have been, if they can pick up any of those healings with, I'm kind of excited to see how much AP he has. Probably does have a decent bit. That could be a game changer, as well as the anathemas we saw now picked up for Hoya. so that probably going to be layered onto Light as well and just try to make his life a little bit harder. Because the longer this game goes, sure, Xiaohu will always be able to one-shot anyone with a combo, right? But then he's on cooldown, then it really does just fall onto the shoulders of the AD carry. So I like that TT are even itemizing just to try and bring Light down a peg.
Void Staff finish up now for Xiaohu. Again, like you said, he will destroy pretty much anyone. And honestly, a Negatron Cloak is not going to help Hoya that much. It will help, but not that much. He's going to be relying on a fair bit of shielding on his own to try and maybe help him through that particular burst. But yeah, wait to see now where both these sides want to try and take themselves. I imagine it's just going to be farming for the next 2 minutes. So paint me a picture, Lyric. How do you want to see both these teams approach these fights? How do you want to see them kind of look to make that angle favorable for them?
For Weibo, it's kind of what we can already see them angling to do, right? I think it's about trying to find a pick on side lanes before this dragon comes up. I think this would be a little bit early, like if they paranoid here and found something, it's like, okay, it'd be cool. They'd have that back up by the time dragon starts. But especially if they can find something between like the 1 minute to 45-second mark on the timer and get first push down towards spot lane, get that vision into river, it will be really hard for TT's comp to walk in just because of the map changes, just because of like choke points and how just how dangerous they've become. For TT, I want to see them stick as a unit. I feel like a lot of times we've seen them falter by like Ucal or 1xN just being a bit too far from the action to be able to follow up on Beichuan finding an engage.
See, they can go for it. They would love for ZDZ to finish up that Randrin's Omen and just to have that extra little bit of, you know, kind of defensive prowess. But we'll see. Still another minute until the both of these objectives are pretty much on the map. Either side just trying to get as much in the armory as possible. That death cap is agonizingly close for Ucal. If he's able to get that finish before this next fight, could be huge. And honestly, with a TP available, he might just be able to kind of roam around, pick up a wave or two and try and get that off, because that feels like a game changer. That feels like something that will completely change a fight. Like you said, with that healing coming out from the Crypt Bloom and having that extra bit of AP to just completely change the dynamic of how it's going.
Yeah, now, see, Weibo going to take this incredibly serious, not wanting to get the solo over, so do TP in for now. TT are the ones who are in control of vision over this whole bot side, though. So we're going to go back to what it looked like in one of the earlier Dragon fights when Xiaohu had to use his ult defensively, right? They're going to have to be the ones running into TT and running into the Cyclone.
They don't have a huge amount of vision control here. Great defensive vision from TT as well. You can see it on the minimap, just kind of covering the entrances, looking for flanks off from Weibo, Xiaohu, and of course XiaoHao. Very much looking for specific people in these fights. They don't have full vision, never mind, now they do. They know exactly where everybody is, but again, like I said, it's going to be a lot of TT vision here. They have full knowledge of where Xiaohu is going. He's going to walk into Hoya and straight away know that there's already going to be something there. TT getting themselves a turret and then moving into that one there. That was
playing on a knife's edge.
Yeah, we're gonna see where they're gonna go. This could be the final fight of the game. Tidal Wave to try and get them off the dragon. The Paranoia comes in, stolen. No way you can go for a Pop Blossom, lands on the 2, and they will burn down the Orianna. The Fed Orianna has gone down, but the Lucian's still got a fair bit of damage. Now the Aphelios can really start to ramp up. They're chasing down Hoya. Won't get the knockback here from the Cassante, but a 2-for-1 trade is always good, and Weibo, they deny the soul.
And Ucal not even able to get a shockwave off in that fight. From being so impactful earlier on with it to
it's gonna be Baron.
Really heads up calls. Yep, gonna move over, and I guess it just should be the objective, right? 20 seconds on mid and jungle. No real way for TT to contend.
Yeah, TT, they thought about it. They just said, nope, we can't go for it. We need to reset, get the Lord Dominic's regard here for 1xN and a redemption over to qiuqiu. But yeah, that's Dragon, that's Baron, and this is kind of control now, you would imagine, of this game going over to Weibo.
Yeah, and I want to keep my eyes on Ucal in this fight, because I was keeping my eyes on who gets this dragon, who is it? Ucal.
Oh, ZDZ.
Oh, gets knocked back by the Cassante Q3 into the Pop Blossom. There we go. It's a nice step up from the first series we saw from ZDZ. That really felt like the difference maker, comboing with XiaoHao as well, turning off the lights, just making everything so much harder for TT. And again, that's on top of XiaoHao actually picking up the dragon himself.
Yeah, I mean, like the coordination from TT to try and just have a straight up fight is so difficult because you've got, as you mentioned, the paranoia. Then you have to watch out for the Pop Blossom. Not only that, but you got to make sure that XiaoHao is not getting onto the backside. And then you still have a Cassante who can completely displace you and move you away from where you want to be. That whole sequence of play was Ucal obviously getting himself away and keeping an eye on the Pop Blossom, but just lost his eyes off of ZDZ, and with the paranoia just making that field of vision so narrow, you can't even blame the guy. It's just how the game is played right now.
I also feel like it's always awkward when you're putting yourselves into starting the Drake. Oh, XiaoHao. Before Splash. Because you need Beichuan to use that Cyclone. And if Beichuan has to focus on, like, smiting the dragon, he isn't peeling. He isn't knocking up the enemy carries or taking care of people like Xiaohu. So I feel like they had to be a bit more decisive before the dragon start had initially happened. And now, I mean, gold completely even, light having GA.
Oh! Doesn't matter though, because they still had everybody else ready and able to jump in on top of Xiaohu. Paranoia not going to help him out there, but the tidal wave could be good here. Going to knock away everybody from helping out ZDZ, who's just kind of by himself, finally goes all out to bring away Beichuan from the fight. They are trying to see if they can maybe kite this one out. This is a 5v4, and Weibo are not deterred just yet. They're still pumping out some serious damage. Green and white, fantastic for just kiting in these situations. Hoya taking so much damage. Will still get hit by the Q, but will not go down in the rest of this one here. Ucal looking to maybe catch a straggler or two, but this is the late game now. This Aphelios is monstrously big, and yes, you got Xiaohu, but Weibo were totally fine with that fight afterwards.
Yeah, they were like, hey, you've already used everything, no Cyclone there, no tidal wave to use. Xiaohu just not expecting this. Rocket belts forward out after seeing the Orianna ball come out, leads to his doom. But he was at so many ults being used on the side of TT. There's the Cyclone. I'm a bit surprised that ZDZ ended up bringing the Wukong. I don't know if it was just like a, you know, clicking, gets anyone he can to try to escape type of situation. Yeah, but it bought all that space for Light.
Yep, it really did, and Light was able to pump out some serious damage, and we can see now that the 80 carries starting to get pretty big. There are 5 items, nearly at 6, with the mid laners not too far away. I will say Ucal feeling a little bit better than Xiaohu right now. We are hitting ultra late game. It is dead even in gold. It is just insanely close. And I had a feeling coming into this one here that this was not going to be a simple on paper, this team beats that one. It was always going to be a little bit different. Now ZDZ TPing in, looking to try and find somebody, but he's 5v1 for the moment, looking to tank up and do as much as he can. Tidal wave comes out, only hits the Nico clone. And already we're starting to see some creative moves from both sides. I think they feel like the game is there to be won. They just need to make it happen.
Yeah, and like, I like the idea coming out from Weibo, but ZDZ actually didn't have his all-out up yet. It was still a few seconds off cooldown, so maybe expecting that TT wouldn't see the TP, would still be stood there a bit more aggressively is... Like I said, I feel like the key distinction that TT didn't have in the last fight was Beichuan wasn't able to find an impactful ult because he had to focus on smiting the dragon. So TT needing to be a bit more heads up, I think, in terms of looking for a fight.
Xiaohu has been spotted, so they know he's coming up behind there on the tri-brush. He got spotted by the minion wave. Yeah, immediately wards behind the pit to recognize that this is not a safe place to be. They have to stay as 5, but at the same time, they have to keep vision. Dragon started by the side of Weibo. Do TT want to go for this? There's going to be flashes for everyone except for XiaoHao, so we'll see how that will... Sorry, yes, XiaoHao, excuse me. As we wait to see what they want to go for. Ball into the middle. Everyone posturing out. They're taking a bit of poke here. XiaoHao needs to be very careful. Here they go. They're going to try and make this one work. Paranoia comes in, but the soul has been claimed by TT. Pop Blossom on the backside. Land onto the primary targets. 1xN has to flash away. qiuqiu will pick up a kill onto Xiaohu. And if TT can get out of this with all of their lives and the soul, that's a massive win with how that fight started.
That's huge. Honestly, both teams just throwing themselves at each other, but it's TT who ends up being able to get away with the soul. Sadly for Weibo, no Baron up to try to turn with these low health bars on the side of TT, so really just huge benefit going over. Like you said though, it is 10 soul, so we go in here. I am surprised at the amount of damage that goes onto the Nocturne right away, but beautiful Pop Blossom from Xiaohu. Sadly doesn't end up being able to finish off 1xN with the heal coming out from qiuqiu. And yeah, then they just get out the great escape, the biggest heist of a lifetime.
I mean, it just felt like when you get a Pop Blossom like that, and you're just, I feel like you should be killing at least one person, but no summoners now for the bot lane of TT. They got out with their lives, they have the Chem Soul, but they don't get out, you know, completely safe for this next fight. But now TT with that Chem Soul, I will say Hoya will be exceptionally hard to kill, but 1xN still exceptionally squishy. Those Infernum procs just melting him down so quickly. And I mean, Weibo, regardless of the soul or not, they're still gonna feel like they can take these fights.
I mean, Weibo now, I mean, with Light, full items Light, having the Elixir, kind of having, right, a higher DPS build than the Lucian. They're going to be looking for Beichuan.
Yeah, they're looking for Beichuan, who's a little bit isolated away from his team, and they're going to have to accept that he's just dead. No jungler now for this Baron. Weibo will turn and burn for the big purple worm. And TT, they need to fight this. They can't let this go. It's too late in the game. It's 45 seconds on their jungler. They're looking for another fight.
Looks like Ucal does have the shockwave.
Oh my god, with that damage, he almost got it as well. XiaoHao does secure it. And the Baron goes over to Weibo. They've got Ucal on the run. He should be fine to try and maybe angle himself away from this. Yeah, you can see Hoya straight away has to realize that he was playing distraction and then recognizes that Weibo were all now turning his attention to him. Ucal just going to back himself with the rest of his team away, but Weibo, they might just barrel down mid. They don't have a wave just yet, and TT, they need to reset.
I was trying to get back for now. At least Weibo going to be fine here. Just going to wait for this one to come in. There are some minion spot, but no one angling over there just yet to have a two-lane setup. Seems like they just want to try and make sure that they can protect Light while they're sieging down this turret.
I mean, 2 more auto attacks you would imagine. Yeah, they can even let the cannon take it, to be perfectly frank, and they will do just that. So, base broken onto TT. Hoya taking a fair chunk, and you can just see the amount of survivability that Light has as well, now that he's full build. GA, Bloodthirster, Emilio, a barrier, a heal. These are just, it's almost nigh impossible to be able to get them. It has to be a shockwave, purely because the burst is all you're going to have.
Yeah, and I also want to like give a shout out to that Melia, right? Because Crisp has been insane. In their first series, he had 100% kill participation. He still has it here, and they're still going to look to fight.
They're still going to look for a fight, but I don't know if that was it was a bit of a miscommunication there, or miscoordination, at least from Weibo. The Moonlight Vigil went completely wide. Maybe, yeah, just not even close, to be perfectly honest. It will blow the flash at Ucal because he didn't have full vision, but everyone backs away. You still have the Baron for another minute 20, and we go again, Lyric. 41 minutes, and we are still looking like any of these teams can take this game.
Like you said, though, I feel like it's a lot harder for like a lot more conditional for TP. Like it's right now, Light has both of his summoners up. You have the GA up. You have all that sustain that you were pointing out coming from Crisp. So unless you really just take him out, hell, even if you take him out in one go, you're gonna have to take him out again. You're gonna have to take him out twice.
So nice, you got to do it twice. So you can look to see where they got to go for this, but. I mean, it's so hard to see how TT can maybe get them an angle. It needs to be a really good ball placement. Maybe get Beichuan on the backside as well to try and dissuade a full engage. But Hoya, he's trying to clear these minions. Not exactly the easiest thing for him to do this late in the game. With the Baron up helping the side of Weibo, they should be able to take this tier 2. You're not going to throw away your game here as TT on this particular defense, but I mean, we're hitting critical mass right now, Lyric. There's only so much more you can do, and Xiaohu's getting his Zhonya's very, very quickly, so this is going to get to a point where it could be one good Pop Blossom, one good Shockwave, one good play, and that could all be it, basically, as Xiaohu TP's back in towards that bot side to make sure that they're on the map for this potential Elder in a minute's time.
And there it is. He has his Zhonya's we were just talking about. The only other carry waiting to have items. Oh, okay. Hoya does get out of there. Ucal waiting to get his Morello, but that doesn't even really feel like it's going to be an, you know, impactful, game-changing, you know, item for the side of TT. Weibo at max capacity now, to where that Zhonya's is going to buy Xiaohu time. It is going to buy him another rotation of spells. So definitely feels like Weibo better up on the items right now. I mean, sure, you know, Hoya Beichuan will get a bit tankier, will be able to buy a little bit more time, but really is just so bursty coming out from the side of TT.
1xN is kind of isolated here. Eventually his team does roll up to make sure that they aren't able to jump into him. He needs to very much keep himself alive as ZDZ Let's take a clip of damage. Already got himself the Jack Show as his 4th item, so he is just a tanky boy. And again, more and more posturing. Elder Dragon spawning in 5 seconds. No Baron for 2 minutes, so it's this objective or nothing. It is a designed buff to end the game. Xiaohu has been discovered off to the left. 1xN gets himself away from any harm. The clone has been used by Beichuan, but we're so late in the game that cooldown is going to be up at about 2 seconds. Now, Elder started and spotted. TT moving cautiously. Hoya has found Xiaohu. ZDZ getting poked down a little bit. Does have the randoms to go for this. Elder's getting taken so low, they don't actually know where it is, and they eventually take it down. That's going to be an Elder buff over to Weibo. TT just didn't know what was happening, and now Beichuan trying to run away, but will just be taken out of his GA from here. It doesn't even have a GA, excuse me. That's going to be XiaoHao's one there, and now Hoya running for the hills. I feel like TT, their indecision was a decision, and they may have just lost the game.
It was weird because I like the decision of Hoya marking Xiaohu, right? It feels like Xiaohu would be the more important piece in that situation, but Beichuan and the other members not just like trying to brute force their way through the rest of Weibo and try and get a contest. Like you said, that really feels like it should seal the deal for the side of Weibo. Just like last series showing, it doesn't matter if they fall behind early, they can still make a comeback.
Absolutely, and now with Elder, I mean, you just barrel up that mid lane. You have a shotgun double-barreled, loaded and ready to throw into the face of TT. Anyone who tries to go, and you've no front line right now for at least another 20 seconds on TT. I don't know how you defend this. I guess you're just very careful of a shockwave as Weibo, but other than that, I mean, you can go for this paranoia again.
I mean, you have multiple GAs up. I don't even, like, even if you do take the shockwave, a few of those members will be able to come out alive on the opposite side.
Oh my God.
Cullen's gonna do a lot.
Yeah, that was a hell of a lot of damage, and a reminder to Weibo that they can't just walk in all willy-nilly, but they still have the Elder for a minute and 15 seconds, actually 10 seconds now. The Baron is spawning, but they're looking for maybe a little bit of a fight. No Moonlight Vigil, the shot. Oh, the Pop Blossom not quite there. The Shockwave haven't been used just yet, and Xiaohu is dead. That's a big kill now, and he's dead for 60 seconds. TP comes in to try and maybe dissuade some kind of re-engage. Moonlight Vigil lands onto Ucal, but that's about it. He'll heal, he'll shield, and he'll be fine. 4 people in the side of Weibo now turn and burn and maybe go for the Baron. Wait, TP, they're going to end the game. He's going to end the game. He's going to look to try and make sure they can't go for it. And he's just stopping anyone from recalling. So Ucal, taking matters into his own hands, is going to break the base, get an inhibitor. And at minimum, it's now TT who have control over the Baron. What is this game, Lyric?
I don't know, but it's like now Ucal doesn't have that TP. It is a straight up 4v4, but
there's no
XiaoHao,
Nocturne here.
He's not going to bluff.
There's no Nocturne here. They don't know that. They just know it now, that the Nocturne was all the way back at base. He didn't reveal himself to the very end, but I mean, 46 minutes, and this game is still so damn close.
It is crazy. I feel like both teams kind of went for really cool gambles there, with Weibo starting to move over towards that Baron and then TP the call, but Weibo still hoping they can find something. Xiaohu does have TP available. Pop Blossom's even going to be up soon, so pretty much all tools you need to fight are there. I want to highlight the kind of one change from when Xiaohu went to that play is once again, 1xN was forced to flash, qiuqiu both summoners used too. So even though Xiaohu went down, since TT couldn't turn that into, you know, ending the game like if Ucal could have, it might set up for their bot lane duo to get punished in a fight.
I mean, everyone's hitting breakpoint right now. You've got double Morellos for TT. It's a weird game when the Nami support's picking up a Morellos, a third item, but a TP on the backside. This could be it. Xiaohu has an opportunity. Xiaohu has everyone in his clutches, and the Lucian is dead. The rest of his team will fall. ZDZ brings Hoya right back towards Ucal. And Weibo, they don't want to end the game right now. They want to end your life, TT. They want to make sure that you don't come back and bring this game any further on, but Weibo, they need to figure out the objective. Shockwave is good as they turn to try and burn, but that's ZDZ going down. Hoya still not going to drop. He's a very, very tanky man, but Weibo, they're just distracting from the real distraction or the real objective here, which is the end of the game, and it looks like they're going to be able to do it, but Hoya still fighting with XiaoHao. I don't know who wins this 1v1, but it doesn't look like it's XiaoHao. Doesn't matter. The Orianna has been able to kill the Nico, and this game has been bonkers, and in 48 minutes it will go in Weibo's favor.
I'm a little bit sad for a majority of that game. Chris would have kept his like 100% kill participation just throughout the split so far alive.
Big
Doesn't end
hugs.
like that, but my God, that game was wild, right? Like, you know,